Good afternoon, Mr. Brooks.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for coming and interviewing with us today, June 25th, 2015, at First African Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia. We're going to start off. I'm Dr. Candy Tate. I'm with ASALA, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, the Atlanta organizing branch. And so the Veterans History Project is one of our programs. And I'm going to start off by asking you when and where you were born.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, February 27th, 1950.
Okay. And who were your parents and what were their occupations?
I was born to Lewis Brooks and Virginia Brooks. My father was a assistant in, what was it, Horn and Hodder. He was, I don't know if you remember that restaurant. There was a restaurant, so he used to help do the cooking while he went to school. He was going to school for engineering before he passed. And my mother was, she was a stay-at-home mom until until after my father died. My father died when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
So then after that, my mother went to work to care for my sister and I, because it's just my sister and I, Teresa.
Okay.
You know.
And so, and the next question was your siblings and what's your sister's name?
Teresa, well, her name is now Teresa Lowry, because she's gotten married, but it was Teresa Brooks.
Okay, at that time. And she, just ask you, did she serve in the military?
No, she did
okay.
not.
All right. And then what were you doing before you actually entered the service?
Well, before I went into the service, I'd gotten out of high school and I was working at Schaefer Brewery in Brooklyn, and I was a mail clerk. I was one of the most fortunate teenagers at 16 to work in a brewery where I could get all the beer I wanted to for free. So.
And mail clerk, was that usual for an African American at the time? What time period are we talking about?
Okay, we're talking about 1967. Was it usual? I couldn't say that it was, but when I went there was another, my immediate supervisor was another African American who was he was a Korean War veteran. Okay. And I'll say one thing about Schaefer Brewery is that they were very progressive and very comfortable to work for, so I would think that as a company they would step it above the average companies as far as treatment and racial fairness.
Okay. Right. And then so you were working, so how did you get to the military? Were you drafted?
No, I volunteered. What happened was I grew up in Kingsborough Projects, and unfortunately most of the young African Americans there were in gangs and they were shooting dope, and there just wasn't a lot of how can I say, role models, unfortunately. So I knew there was more, there was more to life and more to society than just Kingsborough Projects or the other projects. So I chose to go into the service, knowing that there was a Vietnam War, as opposed to staying in the neighborhood and going down the road of the path of some of the other people I saw at my time go down that path.
Right.
I knew that wasn't for me.
So you saw the Vietnam War, but what made you say I want to?
No, I didn't want to go to Vietnam, but I didn't want to stay in the neighborhood where there was nobody making any progress. So it was a choice of do I stay here and go nowhere, or do I go into service and maybe lift myself out of the doldrums of the conditions that I was living in.
Okay.
So that was the choice I made.
So which branch of the military did you serve in?
I went to the U.S. Army.
Okay. And it asked, did you enlist or were you drafted?
No, I enlisted.
Okay. You said, and so I have the date of April of 1968?
Yes.
And where, tell me about being drafted, how did
I
you
volunteered.
go? Okay.
I think the recruiter was downtown Brooklyn. And to tell you the truth, I was just so anxious to get out of the projects that I could have enlisted for a specific they call MOS, Military Obligation Service, school. I just volunteered. Now, as it turned out, I qualified. I got qualified for electronics communication specialist. I also was 3 points short of qualifying for helicopter pilot. Thank God I didn't take that. So I went into the service. I went into what was it? Fort Hamilton, Brooklyn. That's where I entered the service, and then went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, for basic training.
Okay. Now you said you qualified, so tell us about this test and your testing.
Oh yeah, when you go into the service, they give you a battery of tests, and depending upon how you score, is usually the school that they'll send you to. The fact that I didn't sign up for a specific, well, first of all, even if you sign up for a specific MOS, you have to qualify for that. Because I hadn't signed up for a particular, I could have wound up in the infantry because I didn't get promised anything. That was my own stupidity or my own anxiousness or whatever. But because I had scored high, they put me in electronics training.
Okay. And the infantry is kind of like you don't want to go there. Or...
No, you really don't want to do it.
That's what I'm hearing. But why not?
Well, unless you like to have people shoot at you all day, you might opt for something different.
And you can just stay in the projects to do that, right?
Oh, of course, I can stay home and qualified, that skill.
Right. So tell us what happened during your departure to go to training camp and some of those first days in camp.
Well, okay, we all left out of Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. We went to the airport, and that was my first time on a plane as well. So it was, it was the start of my adventure. And so we boarded the plane, got on, flew down to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and stayed overnight in some barracks. And I was thinking, okay, this is the Army now. And the next day we got up, had breakfast, and we still had our civilian gear, right? And then you get the rude awakening. You start to go to the company you're going to be in. That's when you line up. They take the gloves off. Then they make you conform to the orders and get yourself an order, straight this, that, and the thing. And then they take you to get your hair cut. Now that was really, really fun because they're civilian barbers, but what they had all of it, you had a whole row of people sitting in their chairs waiting to get the barber, waiting to get the haircut. So there was this one guy, he had long hair, a Caucasian fella, he had long shoulder length hair, and so the barber comes up to him and says, "How do you want your hair cut?" He said, "Oh, well, just take a little off here, just this and that and that." And the barber says, "Yeah," and he takes what's the name? The scissors, and just goes right back in the back of it, straight down the middle.
So the clippers.
The clippers. And it looks like the parting of the Red Sea because. So that was the introduction, and then they take everybody's hair off, So, and then from there you get on your uniform then it's business. It's all about business, it's all about discipline and learning how to take orders and, training. So all that whole idea of individual thinking and thoughts and who you are, your person is gone. But it's necessary.
Now, had you visited the South, or was this your first?
That was my first trip to the South as
okay.
well. Yeah.
Remember what were your remembrances of that first experience?
This ain't Brooklyn. It's not Brooklyn. I mean, the South itself was kind of like the prejudices you've heard coming up in New York, from New York. Oh, the South it's slow, you don't have as many freedom. And they were right. But I was not, how can I say? I wasn't unhappy about it. It was a new experience. So everything I was doing was a new experience, which was actually good. For me, just had to make a personal adjustment.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall any instructors, and what were they like?
Yeah, there was one, I can't remember his name now. It'll probably come to me later, but I had one instructor. He was a Southerner, and he and I never, we never saw eye to eye. In fact, I expected a physical confrontation with him at some point, but it never came about. But we had that respect for each other because I don't think he really wanted to challenge me either, although he was in a position to. But I was out of the projects. I was around real tough guys, coming up in the projects. So I respected him. He respected me. We didn't like each other. We respected each other. And at the end of training, we had a conversation, and we had the conversation to say that we did respect each other. That was between he and I. But yeah, and then there was another sergeant, big bruiser of a sergeant, a brother from, I think he was from Texas. He's first sergeant. He used to get up there and he used to call off people's names, right? You had to call off roll call or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And he would mess people's names up. So he said, if it sounds like it so-and-so name, answer up. But he was such an intimidating figure, nobody challenged him. He might have 2 or 3 people answering up because he misspelled or mispronounced their name. So people would just answer up, just not to rub him the wrong way. But those are the only 2 people I would say was outstanding.
Okay. Blacks versus whites, what was?
We didn't have too much of that, issues with that. No, but I think the conflicts that came up between, it was a couple of times black and whites, but just because it would have been a personal conflict between personalities anyway, and not necessarily racial.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Did you receive any specialized training? If so, what?
Well, the electronics training.
Okay.
Yeah, that pretty much was it. Yeah.
And what did that involve?
Communication specialist with fixing radios, TVs, the communication equipment for helicopters, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then how did you adapt to, military life, the physical regiments, the barracks, food, social life?
I liked it. And an amazing thing, some of the food was terrible. The coffee was horrible. I had 2 cups of coffee while I was in the military. First cup I had in basic training. I couldn't believe it was so horrible that I never had, I just said I never. The only other time I had a second cup of coffee, I was getting ready to get out of the service. I was in, down here in Fort, what's his name? What fort was I in when I was getting ready to get out? Fort Gordon, right? I was in Fort Gordon, Georgia, getting ready to get out. I said, let me have another cup of coffee. It was just as horrible as that first cup of coffee. You can't believe it. They must have put the same boots in there or something. I don't know.
The barracks.
The barracks.
Living right.
They were okay. I adjusted to that. People used to put a lot of pranks on each other during a boot camp, like what they used to do. A short sheet was when somebody made the bunk, but you pulled the sheet back so that it made up the bed, so that when the person got in, they couldn't get all the way in because the sheets were too short. So you get a lot of that. People fall asleep and people would put shaving cream on their hands and then touch them on the face, and then they go hit the, crap like that. We used to do a lot of pranks.
Just to lighten up the air, huh?
Yes.
Okay. But the actual PT?
Oh, I loved it. It was hard. It was hard. I loved it. You know, I was in great shape. I was in great shape. The harder it was, the more I liked it.
And then, of course, social life.
There wasn't much of that.
Didn't get to, okay.
But no, we got down, you know, downtown, but it was like commercial, you know. So there wasn't really much social life. You know, we used to hang out in what they call the EM's Club, the Enlisted Men's Club, and drink 3.2 beer, and you know, you have to drink about 3 gallons of it to get a buzz. But that really was it. They had some social clubs, and then you could maybe, you know, you meet some of the people from the town might come in, some, you know, and you know, you might get acquainted like that. And then there was always the chapel. You could always go to church, you know.
Okay. And then, can you take me through some of the places you served? So we know you were involved in the Vietnam conflict, but
Yes.
how did that-
When I got out of basic training, I went to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey for my specialized training, which in electronics. What happened while I was in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, while I was waiting for assignment, my mother was still living in the projects. She had gotten mugged, and so, you know, I went home and I saw that, you know, the condition she was in, and I called my company. I said, look, I got an emergency, this, that, and everything. They said, well, you got to come back. I said, listen, I'm not coming back to my mother straight. So I got stayed 2 weeks beyond my time, and they sent 2 of the biggest MPs on the planet to come get me, right? And then they not only they sent the MPs, but they sent in that neighborhood, they sent 2 police cars as well, because anything could have jumped off in that neighborhood. So anyway, they brought me back, they put me in the stockade, and after I got out of the stockade, I went to Fort Meade, Maryland. And then they want to change my MOS. They're going to change my MOS to a mechanic. But I know about cars, I didn't, you know, except to drive them. So then they realized that that they were short electronic specialists over in Vietnam. They said, let's send them to Vietnam. So that's what they did. They sent me to Vietnam after I was in Fort Meade, Maryland for maybe 4 to 6 months or something like that.
Okay. And tell me some of your experiences of serving abroad. Getting over there.
Okay, when I got to, well, on my way to Vietnam, I was well, I had, in between that time I had gotten married too. Got married, and I just left, you know, my young bride. And so on the way to Vietnam, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about, wow, I may not be coming back this way. So on the plane trip there, the civilian airplane that we was on hit an air pocket. And you know, when you hit an air pocket, the plane just dropped to like 300-400 feet, just drops because there's no air. And as it dropped, I'm saying, oh my God, I'm going to die even before I get there. So,
You lose your stomach.
yeah. So they were serving us breakfast, and we had pancakes and stuff and that, right? So pancakes had gotten stuck to the ceiling, right? And one of the guys looked up after the plane leveled off. As he looks up, the pancakes fall and hits him right in the face. So that lightened up everything for a little bit, you know?
Right.
But when the plane landed in, where did we land? We landed in Benoit. Yeah, Benoit. And it was pitch black out. And the airplane, the temperature in the airplane had to be maybe 70, right? But when they opened the door for us to get off, we walked into about 98-degree weather. And this was at night. It was 98 degrees at night. So I said, oh my God, I got to do a year in this? So, got off, and, you know, they send you into the barracks. And the good thing about it was that there are a mix of new arrivals and GIs that are going back. So the GIs that are going back kind of fill you in, let you know what to expect, this, that, and other thing, what to look out for, this, that, and other. So it was about I think we spent maybe a week, 2 weeks at 90th replacement until they sent you to the area that you were going to be assigned to. And so I got assigned to HHC headquarters company. And they, you go on, either you might wind up going on a truck or you go on a helicopter, right? I wanted this little helicopter, which is called a Loach. It's a little small helicopter, right? And it has no doors on the side, right? There's no doors on the side. And the helicopter pilot knew I was brand new because my uniform's brand new. I'm coming from 90th replacement. I'm spank. I look shiny. I should have put some dirt on me or something. So he gets in the helicopter, and we get in there where we're going to land. He starts flying all sideways and this and that. And I'm holding on, I'm gripping, I'm calling him everything but a child of God. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't know that because of the force, that you couldn't fall out anyway. You'd have to push yourself out to fall. But I didn't know that. He knew that. He landed and he was laughing his head off. But that's how I got to the headquarters company.
So you could handle anything after that.
Yeah.
So any frontline or combat action that you witnessed?
The combat situation had a way of finding you. And I say that because although I wasn't in the infantry, I was in signal. I used to have to go out, we would have to go out to take the equipment to the front line, to replace, or, the damaged parts or whatever. And a lot of times, or at least some of the times, we had to go out to where areas in the bush where they have like what they call MAC-V, which was special forces. So we would, although we weren't in a combat battalion, we were might wind up in a combat situation. Not each and every time, but sometimes you'd wind up in a combat situation just because you were there.
To
do repair. And yeah, so that's how it would happen. I once heard a description that war is hours of boredom punctuated by minutes or seconds of sheer terror. And that's how I would describe combat, sheer terror. Sheer terror.
What did you see?
See bodies. You'd see a body, or bodies that had been, people who had been hit, blown apart, people with half a head, pretty nasty. Pretty nasty stuff.
So you've been coming from Brooklyn. That was
a little rough even for Brooklyn. Even for Brooklyn, that was a tough one.
So in those situations, and then going back to your specialized training, did you develop friendships, camaraderies while you?
Let me tell you, that was the best camaraderies I ever experienced was in Vietnam. The best, absolute the best. Because you had to protect, you had to depend upon that other person. That other person had to depend upon you, and you have a sense of loyalty that I'm not going to leave that person. Their life depends on me, and my life depends upon them. It's such a closeness, it's amazing. On the other hand, some of the GIs that were like in combat all the time shied away from developing close ties. But me not being involved in it all the time, and people in doing what we did were not involved in combat all the time. It was a different thing. You know, because when you were in combat all the time, it's a good chance you're not going to come back with that person you went out with. So it's a different thing. You don't want to develop that type of closeness, but not so with the unit I was in. No, not so.
So who were some of your, or is there a buddy or?
Well, I've got some of them in here.
Okay, well, we'll get to them.
Yeah, my best friend was Freddie Jones.
Okay.
From McKeesport, Pennsylvania. I swear I wish I could see him now. How can I describe Freddie? An affable individual who was greatly competent, but would give his shirt off his back. Great leader, great human being, you know. The world would be such a better place if we had more Freddies.
Okay. Now, as you're serving, it's all black and all white. Were they segregated, or were everyone working together?
No, my unit, everybody worked together. It was, it's highly technical, so everybody worked together. We worked in the shop, and not to say that prejudice did not exist, because you saw it, in different areas and whatnot. But the people that I worked with were pretty much very close. Again, like I said, there's always an exception to the rule. It was one or two people that you didn't feel close to, and you really didn't care. All right, well, that's them, But the other times, the rest of the cadre, you knew, or at least I had, let's say, really 8 to 10 guys that was in my crew that we were really tight, really, really tight.
Blacks and whites.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But the blacks were the tightest. You had some good white cadre as well. You had some good white cadre that was what you were tight with, but I always was tightest with my brothers. I always was tightest with my brothers.
Why would you say that?
Because although we might have come from different areas, we had a lot of common things. Something as simple as music. Simple as music. You could relate. To that. You can relate to habits. Cultural habits. That help to bond you together. And even just talking vernacular was familiar.
So even if someone was from the South or from the North?
Yeah, because there were other things that just being black bound you together, culturally, and you just related to that. Their experience at home was similar to your experience at home, So there was that bonding. Plus, to the fact that now you're in a war zone. Now, you got a different set of people trying to kill you. It kind of bonds you.
Right. Right. What music do you remember listening to?
Oh, Temptations, Edwin Starr, even grooving. Even who sang grooving?
On a Sunday afternoon?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
I remember the words.
Oh, God.
I'll look it up.
Oh, there was even some Marvin Gaye, the Four Tops. Yeah. That was some of them.
Did entertainment come over to?
Yes. Marvin Gaye and them didn't come, but we had some USO entertainers come over. And I have some pictures of that in here too. So that was fun. And then they had local Vietnamese or singers that they had this one particular group, I remember this girl group, that sounded just like the Supremes, just like the Supremes. But when they finished singing, you knew they weren't.
So those are some fun times.
Yeah,
I can imagine. And the friends. How did you stay in touch with family back home?
By letters.
Okay.
Yeah, by letter. And I used to look forward to getting those, we used to call care packages, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they, they would send cookies and crackers and canned meats and stuff, you know. And it was really greatly appreciated and welcome, you know. And when you open it, everybody got some. Everybody, you shared it with everybody, you know. But that was how we stayed in touch.
Mm-hmm. Who was writing to?
I was writing to my wife at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and my sister, and my mother.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much. And I think my buddies even wrote me a letter or two while I was over there.
Did you keep any of them?
Of the letters, no.
Okay.
No, I sure did.
Okay.
No, in fact, I know my wife she got rid of one of my albums. She was pissed off, and we had a breakup when I came back, so she got rid of, a lot of stuff.
See, I don't remember. And then what did you do for recreation when you were off duty?
Oh, got as drunk as I could get. That's the truth.
Right.
That is the truth. We used to, what do you say? We used to go and go through the village and hang out. And, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Did you hear, there were, I guess, stories of black soldiers impregnating locals, and were there those kind of issues?
Yeah.
And they'd leave the children.
Yes. That, it wasn't just everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It was
These U.S. soldiers, black
U.S.
white.
soldiers, didn't matter. Yeah, it was, they were, my friend Freddie, he had a lady he had hooked up with down there. He was trying to bring her home. When in fact, he had re-enlisted a second time to try to get the paperwork to bring her back. But there was a couple of people that I know that were trying to do that.
So in that case, he wanted the person that he was with to come back to the U.S., but there were issues. Yeah.
There was always difficulty doing that, but it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't try to do it because I don't think my wife was already mad at me, so I don't think she wanted to bring anybody else back.
No, you weren't able to do that. So when I have here that you were in through 71, October. Where were you when the war ended, or when?
I was out of service by the time the war ended.
Uh-huh.
I got discharged out of service in 1971, and I think the war ended in either 72 or 73. And so I was already out of there.
Okay. So you did one stint and said not going back. But.
I could have extended 30 days when I came back. I did my last 6 months in Fort Gordon, Georgia. If I extended 30 days, I could have gotten out immediately. But I said, might be my luck on day 29.
Let's see to that. So how did you get back home? I mean, or just kind of what were the stops from Vietnam to?
Okay, so from Vietnam, I came into California, Fort, what was that? I don't know, it was in California. And then from there, I caught a civilian plane to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home in uniform, dress uniform, and I didn't run into the rebuff that a lot of other GIs did, like the people saying stuff to them. I didn't run into that.
Okay. How did the community and family receive you then?
Well, the family received me fine, but the community was like, so what? It's like,
No extra respect or that for being in uniform?
Didn't. In fact, when I went to get on the bus, I didn't have any money. I think they gave us a check. I'm not even sure of how, but I didn't have money to get on the bus, or maybe I just didn't have the change to get on the bus. If I was a bus driver, I'd say, oh, yeah, go ahead and sit down. Somebody on the bus paid for me to get on the bus.
Okay.
I was disappointed about that. I would have thought the bus driver, yeah, go ahead and sit down, you know. But
You
somebody on the
serve
bus
their country
paid.
and
Yeah.
they think they would.
Yeah, so that was the only thing I ran into that wasn't comfortable.
Mhm.
You know,
Okay.
yeah, that was it.
So how was it readjusting to civilian life?
It was a challenge.
How
It was a
so?
challenge.
How so?
Because in Vietnam, we had kind of gotten away from discipline. You know, we kind of were autonomous, and I really got used to that. I got used to being around my associates that I really felt comfortable with, and we just looked out. We looked out for each other. We did what we needed to do, but we looked out. We relied upon each other. This was my crew. This is who I feel comfortable around. When I came back, I didn't feel like I could associate with anybody else like that.
So then what did you do? You came back and
When I came back, I had to
Had your
do
wife?
6. When I came back, I did my last 6 months, again, I said, in Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Mhm.
I just waited to really get out of service. They had me
Okay.
doing some menial stuff.
Mhm.
And then when I got out of the service, I came back, and my wife and I had split up. We were
Okay.
splitting up, and I stayed over at my mother's house, temporarily, and I started taking a battery of exams, city exams, and I took some temporary jobs with the city as a drug counselor and something else, and then the first civil service exam came through was for parking enforcement agent, the meter maids.
Mhm.
And I guess I guess it was good for me because I had discipline. I'd learned discipline from the Army, but also had developed this tough guy persona. So if I gave a ticket out, somebody wanted to squawk, I was right there. I was right up in their face, and I don't know if that was good or not. But nobody bothered me about the tickets I gave them. And then from there, I became a corrections officer, and I worked in corrections for 20 years.
Mhm.
And I guess the military background was very useful in that situation either. Being from Brooklyn was very useful in that situation too, because I knew 10% of all the inmates in there anyway.
Okay. And then somehow you got to Savannah.
Oh yeah, well,
Was that
yeah,
retirement?
okay. After I retired from correction, because I had risen to the rank of assistant deputy warden, and I retired out there after 20 years, and then I was doing school. I was working as a supervisor in security for what was it? John Jay College. And to make a long story short, I hooked up with this professor there. She and I had a child, of which she's 19 now. She's in college, and Arizona State. Anyway, she and I broke up. And after she and I broke up, is when I decided to, let me just see some places of the South, because I had wanted to get out of New York. I was just tired of the rigmarole in New York. I said, you know, and I said, I came down here. Actually, I came down here with another lady. I came, and she was retired. So we said, let's go look at some cities in the South. And first place we stopped at was Savannah. And we saw, oh man, the beautiful buildings, excuse me, and the whole lifestyle. And 2 weeks later, we moved down here. But before that, after I had retired, I went to school for architecture. So I got my architectural bachelor's.
Okay.
And I was doing architecture in New York when my daughter's mother and I split up. So anyway, that's how I wound up down here in Savannah. And then when I got down here, the lady and I that I came down here with, she and I split up down here. What can I tell you?
They're lost. Do you remain in contact with any of the folks from the military?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no. It's been too many years. We've just lost contact. We just lost contact with each other. I would have loved to have maintained contact with some of the fellas that I served with in Vietnam in particular. Because those were truly reliable souls. I don't know how life panned out for them, but while we were over there, I'd give my right arm for them.
And then we see that military life just isn't easy on relationships either.
Oh no,
So.
no. I mean, maybe for some, I guess you've got to really have a certain mindset for that. That I don't know how you can do it, but for some people it works out.
Were there any females in service with you?
No.
Was this all male?
Yeah, where I was. It's not to say that there weren't females in like the medical and stuff, but I didn't have any contact with them.
Okay. And then what about we know of issues of don't ask, don't tell. Did you have
any of that? Oh no.
I mean, just were you aware of it? Any of it going on? How can I say? Only have perception of that of maybe two GIs that might have been of that persuasion. But I never saw anything. But no, I didn't run into any of that. Are you, now that you're out, involved in any veterans organizations?
No, I'm not. No.
But so you and Mr. Cummings, you all have is there any ministry or anything at the church?
Oh yeah, we're both trustees at the church.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good brother. You can tell he's a veteran.
See, I'm seeing a pattern. And then we've talked about what you've done since separating from the military. So you're working in corrections and.
Yeah, I was working in corrections. Then after I went back to school. Then I was working in some architectural firms. I don't know why I've been dragging my feet to get my own license, but I'm going to do that shortly. Now that I'm, more or less settled.
Okay.
Now I'm just more or less settled.
Gotcha.
Isn't that something?
Gotcha. So now the fun begins.
Yes. Yes.
So in reflecting, how was your wartime experience and how did that affect your life?
Well, the going in the service was a good thing for me. I don't feel that it was good to me because I've always been more or less a boss fighter, as they would say. And being honest, and even though I was in the military, even though I was in correction, I rose to the rank of assistant deputy warden. Even in that, I was a boss fighter. But that's just my personality. But it was good for me because it did instill discipline in me. it gave me, it gave me certain skills. It made me aware of certain strengths, and it offered me some benefits, that I'm have made great use of today, and so I don't know if I would do it again. I don't know if I would do it again. If I could take this knowledge that I have without having that experience again, I probably wouldn't get the experience. I probably wouldn't take the experience.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So what are some of the life lessons from military service?
Know what you're getting into. Research whatever you're going to do in life. Research it. And then know yourself. And one great thing is that be a man of your word. If you commit to something, commit to it. That's what I could say I've taken out of service, and that's a good thing. That is definitely a good thing.
So how has military service impacted your feelings about war and just the military in general?
War, it's a horrible thing we do as a society, as a people, as an individual. War is a terrible thing, but it's sometimes necessary. And it's sometimes necessary because there are terrible people out here that have to be controlled, eliminated. But I think that we should do everything else first before we go to war. We should do everything else humanly possible first before we go to war. Because when you go to war and you're going to take somebody's life, and you can't hesitate to do that. You cannot hesitate, or it'll be your life. So it's a terrible thing. We should never do that haphazardly.
But then military in general is?
It's about taking lives.
Okay.
It's about taking lives. That's what it comes down to.
Or have yours taken?
Kill or be killed.
Mm. What message would you leave for future generations who will view this?
About the experience? What message would I leave?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I would say examine. Well, when it comes down to military service, and you're in that country, you have a duty. You have a duty to protect that country. So, when it comes down to your duty, you must defend your country. You have to. I think the only other decision is don't believe the hype about the benefits, because you'll get some benefits, but is that worth committing to killing another person? Is it really worth it? So again, know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Know yourself. Know your morals. Know where you stand at within yourself.
Great. Now, have I forgotten anything that we need to talk about, to touch on that I haven't asked?
Not from where I sit.
Okay. Well, and I know you have some pictures you want to share with us.
Sure, you can look at.
Well, stay there. Stay seated.
That's all right. That's.
And can you check to see if we can?
Well, some of them, not all of them, are war pictures.
Okay.
this is some family pictures here, right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's me, and that's me.
Okay, you're gonna have to hold them up.
We're good.
Oh, okay, you want, I can show you the war pictures,
Mm-hmm.
the military pictures. Okay. That's me and my hooch.
Yeah, you got it
That's me and,
up just a little bit more.
that's Nelson and I.
There.
And Hooch, here's, like I said, he's not African American, but he's a good soul,
Right.
you know. And that's me and Brickhouse, we're downtown in the bar. And that's some of the entertainers.
Okay.
That's my best buddy Freddie. That's us and me and Freddie and what's the name of the bar, and that's Fields, Brother Fields there. We're in a base camp, and that's me. I'm about 100 pounds lighter. And that's some Vietnamese money, Viet Cong money actually.
Okay.
And this is a picture of me and Warren and Cooper. We're standing outside the hooch. That was one of the last times I had a six-pack too. And some pictures of downtown and some of the ladies, you know, down there. That's the flight line. You can see where the helicopters are coming in, and that's me putting it on the little stage picture there.
And what kind of camera were you using?
Oh God, I don't even remember.
Oh, okay.
I don't even remember. Well, it was a good one because you see the stop
Yeah.
action. You can see that you know. I think I probably gave everything to my brother-in-law when I came back. I don't know. And again, there's some ladies in the entertainment there, and this is a pagoda, and this is a typical, village there. You know, with the water. You're right on the river.
Mm-hmm.
I think these were pictures off the Mekong Delta. And there's some more downtown pictures. The Siglos, this is how they travel. This is one of the USO shows.
You like the dancers.
Oh yeah. Yes indeed.
He's like, my eyes weren't broken.
Right? And here's another picture of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always having a gun around me. It's terrible.
What is that?
That's a Thompson machine gun.
Okay.
And some more. And this is interesting. This is a religious shrine, and it has a Nazi symbol, which is really, it's really a religious symbol in the Hindu religion.
Mm.
And I think that's where Hitler got it from. And let's see, what is this here? Oh, it's another lady. She was Australian. The Australians used to come and give shows as well. And again, this is just some more scenes from, like downtown Ben Samoy.
It's been over backwards. I'm like, I should do that. Now these are, was this on base where these entertainers are coming
Yes,
in?
these are,
okay.
No, these are all on base.
Okay.
These are all on base. You took them downtown, they might try to steal your camera. But this is how they traveled, with the Siglos. This one's on base too, I think. This is how they traveled, with the bicycle. This is, average young ladies walking through and village and so on. And look at all those Siglos. And these guys sound.
Oh, the hats.
No, the Siglos are the bicycles.
Oh, the bikes.
Yeah,
Oh,
the motorbikes.
Okay.
Yeah. And these guys sound just like the Beatles when they were singing. When they stopped, you knew who they were.
You gotta imitate.
Right. And again, that's just some more, pictures of downtown and so on.
Are you gonna stick around long enough for me to, can I take pictures of your pictures
Sure,
for the camera?
sure,
Okay.
sure.
One. And I'll ask, don't cut it off. Yeah, I was just gonna ask Deborah, do you have any questions or areas of comment? You good? I covered it, I actually covered everything. Well, how about that? Mr. Brooks, thank you so much for your time, for your service to the country. What were those things we're supposed to say?
Oh, yeah, this is just my discharge paper. Another thing was just what you know.
Okay, yeah, that, but this was.
My DD 214.
Okay. Yeah, I actually still see the embossed thing.
Mhm.
I want to take a picture of that. So
Okay.
now I'm going to say, Mr. Brooks, thank you for your time, your service to the country, and for taking time to share that with us in this interview. We appreciate you and your service.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.